Manya is a born donor. She herself left us the story of her life. I was always a disaster, quick, restless, strong-willed, but organized.
My name is Manya Wallach. All the documents are Maria Wallach. And that happened because when we came to Vienna in 1914, we were Flüchtlinge, refugees without any documents. And the person who enrolled me to public school couldn't take the name Mariam, so she let the M out, and here it was Marie. Later on, I don't know, for some unknown reason, I became Maria, and that it stayed.
I was born in Bils. I was 6 years and a half old when the Russians marched into the town. We had to run, leaving everything behind.
When war broke out, 1914, we lived in a border town, and it was very, very sudden. And the Cossacks came in on horses with the bayonets, and they were killing and burning the whole city. Everybody was running. We were running in the woods, very hid, hoping to come back soon. That didn't happen. It took us 2 months to go, mostly at night, from one hiding place to another, and wherever there were fields, they were hiding in the fields. When we arrived to Vienna, we lived in a tenement building, and there were about 16 little apartments on one floor with one toilet and one bathroom.
Water and toilet were in the corridor. No electricity. Joseph was the one to install electric light for us. My mother had no difficulty in cooking in Vienna. We were rationed to about a 12-inch round loaf of bread, which my mother cut carefully in portions. We slept on straw. My grandmother Zlate lived with us. Of course, we had room for other refugees. We only had to spread the straw thinner. Elette, who was our housemaid, was the first to get a job to support us all. My father Stui was an egg exporter. He stored eggs in sulfur for the winter. His main customers were in Vienna and in Munich. When we arrived in Vienna, my father approached his customers for jobs for us. They could give us only manual jobs. Sprinze, Joseph and Addie went to work to store eggs in lime. Their hands got inflamed. They had to be bandaged. My father cried, but they went anyway. Later they found better positions working as button sewers on the military's pants. Addie made the most money because he put very few stitches on. The foreman told him, "We're going to lose the war because of you. The soldiers will lose their pants." In order to make a living, my father Tui became a rag dealer. He bought clippings from factories. All factories were allowed only to work for the government during the war. We were lucky that the shirt factories that made shirts for the army and navy had leftovers or strips of cloth. Joseph had the idea of making shirts for the country. You could sell anything because nothing was available. Joseph designed a shirt putting the strips together, producing shirts for the civil population. They were sold 1, 2, 3. The first machine we bought was an old broken down Singer machine, which Joseph repaired and made workable. Later on, he invented and patented worldwide the double-collared shirt. The pattern was made by placing the collar fitted into a groove under the collar. Then you could pull a thread to remove and place the old collar with a new one, pre-washed. After 4 years, I stopped the gymnasium and started business school. I enjoyed it very much and received very good marks. Every day I worked hard in the factory. My job was to take care of the shipping department. We, Hido, after Hirschdonner, belonged to the Gesellschaft, the union. We were always in trouble because we employed illegal refugees workers to help them make a living. My father couldn't say no to any person in hardship. In Vienna, every child was supposed to play an instrument. Willie played the violin and I the piano. We both were tone deaf, and so we loved music. My mother had a strict working schedule. Monday, laundry. Tuesday, ironing. Wednesday, shopping. Thursday, main dishes, fish, meat, soup. Friday, cooking. Like a restaurant, she offered variety. The cakes were displayed like a showcase. On Friday we would collect fresh flowers, which were surrounded by the candlesticks. The embroidered napkins were placed in napkin rings, with each marked with individual names. Friday, Shabbat, and the holidays were very festive. We all had to take baths and have our hair done for the occasion. Guests were made welcome, and some stayed overnight. Sometimes we had to double up so that we could share our beds. Life was difficult but beautiful. My father Tzvi became very sick in 1926. He had cancer in the stomach, which spread in the liver. The morphine did not work anymore, and so he was in a lot of pain. He passed away in 1928 at the age of 58. He was an inspiration all my life. A proverb of his was, "Don't laugh, don't cry, try to understand." After my father died, I started dating seriously. Chocolate Klein was my favorite friend. We always went in groups. Chocolate took her cousin Sungo, a shoe manufacturer, along. We spent every weekend together and had lots of fun and enjoyed each other's company. Then came Jacob, who mother liked best. He came from a very good family. He had half partnership in a knitting factory together with his sister Clara. Jacob and I got married. I was pregnant. Jacob took me for an outing on Saturday in March 1936 to Schönbrunn in the Tivoli. I felt that the time had come where I had to go to the Rudolfiner house. I had a beautiful private room and was for 20 hours in labor. On Friday night, March 13th, 1938, Hitler marched into Vienna. The entire family was always invited to celebrate the Shabbat in Mother's house. It was good weather. The windows were open. Suddenly we heard the marching troops of Hitler Judgments, the young people, on the streets, and all the Nazi flags with swastikas were hanging from windows. They were singing and playing the Hörst Wessler song, "When the Jews' Blood Will Flow." Hitler started to deport the Jews to the death camps. Friends of ours live in Burgenland. Of course, Mother took them in. I remember my uncle and other family members came to stay with us. We shared the misery in company. In Vienna, Jacob owned 5 kilos of gold. After Hitler came to Vienna, I asked a friend, a cigarette holder manufacturer, if he could make gold cigarette holders so we could get the gold out of Austria. Jacob thought that was a very good idea. We could not meet in the factory, so I met his wife on the street and gave her the gold. When I went again to the street to receive the cigarette holders, I was arrested and taken to the police station. The lawyer who was given to me notified Jacob that I was arrested. When Jacob came down, he was put into jail together with a cigarette holder manufacturer. They eventually let me go home and kept Jacob for 3 months in prison, Schutzhaft, together with Mr. Epstein, the owner of the largest movie chain in the top of the Gemeinde. I had to go to the factory daily. The Nazis had taken it over, but we had to train the new workers. Mr. Pnelsel was the factory worker who took over the factory. He also took away the apartment in the building that Jacob owned. Mr. Pnelsel claimed that the factory was bombed and that the machines were lost. While Jacob was in prison, I told Dr. Hitchner, who was his lawyer, that Jacob had pneumonia, so he allowed me to bring him a blanket so that he could keep warm. Dr. Hitchner was recruited by the Nazis as a prisoner's lawyer. One had to stand hours online so that you could speak to him. After many hours, I finally got in. I told him Jacob was taking an account of the gold. He said, "I don't understand. He did not commit a crime." He was the one to help me get the blanket, candy, and Paul's photo on a rocking horse to Jacob. I still have the photo with the swastika on it.
The card says, "My dear Jacob, Paul and I send you the heartiest greetings and many kisses. Keep your head up. Maria and Pauli."